I'm John Fensterwald.
And I'm Kathryn Baron. Together we write and edit toped.org, a forum on California education policy.
Join us while we interview interesting and important leaders in education. You'll learn a lot in 10 minutes or less.
I'm Kathryn Baron. My guest, John Merrow, is one of the nation's preeminent education journalists. He's been a prolific chronicler of our schools for nearly 40 years as education reporter for the NewsHour on PBS, National Public Radio, numerous books and articles in every major newspaper, and through blogs, podcasts, and award-winning documentaries produced by Learning Matters, the news organization he started in 1995. John Merrow has written a new book titled The Influence of Teachers, Reflections on Teaching and Leadership. It's a provocative narrative tackling the most controversial debates in education reform today. John, welcome to Top Ed.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kathy. Pleasure to be here.
It seems that, to me, when I was reading it, that part of writing the book for you was an attempt to make sense of the debate over education reform today. Did that figure into it?
Absolutely. I like you, have been watching. I've been a lot longer than you have, but watching what's going on, and it's troubling to see this kind of a war on teachers, against teachers. People trying to say, well, if we just had better people, everything would be fine. And there's another camp saying, no, we need to make teaching a better job. And the better people argument, they have an awful lot of firepower. They've got Michelle Rhee and a very flawed documentary called Waiting for Superman, another movie called The Lottery. They've got the charter school people, Teach for America. They're all sort of piling on, and either inadvertently or sometimes purposefully, they're making teachers out to be the bad guys, which is, I find very troublesome.
And then there's a very sort of small other side, right?
Absolutely. The people are saying we need to make teaching a better job, and Diane Ravitch is has a little megaphone as opposed to these networks. But the flaw, making teaching a better job, is made complicated, Kathy, because the trade union definition of better job is the thing that's out there, which is unfortunate, but better job has been defined in trade union terms. How late can I get there in the morning? How quickly can I leave in the afternoon? How many days in advance does a principal have to ask me before she can come watch me teach? That's not what teachers want. If you ask them about a better job, they say we'd like to be able to watch each other, we'd like to be able to collaborate, we'd like to help develop curriculum. We'd like our evaluations to count at least as much as a bubble test. But unions and school boards sign these stupid contracts, which, as they say, are trade union terms. So, yeah, it's troubling to watch what's going on, which is why I wrote the book. Yeah.
Well, you also kind of describe this dramatic shift in schools that further complicates it, right? Because it's not the way when we went to school.
Absolutely not.
It's the mission is almost completely different.
Thank you, because that's the other side. This war that's going on is irrelevant to the needs of our kids. You and I went to school. I went long before you did, but for three reasons. You went there because that's where they kept all the information. It was in the textbooks with the teacher's head. That's not true anymore. Now it's 24/7. So. But schools remain these answer factories when in fact they should be helping kids formulate questions. We went to school to be socialized. Today there's an app for that, right?
That's right.
You know,
the NAP app, right?
But so, and our kids are socializing. It's like pen pal on steroids, and but schools need to adapt to that because our kids are out there. Our 14-year-old is texting with somebody that she thinks is 14, but could be 40-year-old pedophiles. So we have to, as adults, have to help kids understand that technology. The third reason you went to school was custodial care. Our parents needed, needed
get out of the house.
Keep us safe. We still need custodial care. But if schools don't adapt in the other two ways, then it's a marginal education, and custodial care only becomes dangerous. Because kids are smart. Kids have all this energy and intelligence, and if it's not used positively, very often it comes out negatively, and that is what's happening. I mean, cyberbullying is much easier than bullying, because you can be anonymous, and that's on the rise. And cyberbullying is just child abuse by children. So schools have to change, but instead they're fighting this war. So that's why I wrote the book. I mean, there are a lot of solutions in the book, so I think.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to talk about some of the solutions, because you have this chapter, Follow the Leader, where you talk a lot about, well, the two main people. One, particularly Michelle Rhee, who has, garnered amazing praise and then just vitriolic rage.
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
And you seem to see positive aspects of both. It seemed to me that, and you talk about how she sort of started this revolution.
I think she has.
But is it a good revolution?
Well, you no longer can you have with a straight face, can you say, well, teachers should be paid based on how many years they've been teaching or how many graduate classes they've taken. And you can't say that with a straight face anymore. And I think Michelle Rhee is at least started that ball rolling down the hill. And she deserves immense credit for that, in my view. How it's going to turn out, I don't know. I mean, I have a personal view that teacher pay should be based on how the kids are doing in an entire school. And then if you do it that way, then everybody in that school is invested in how you do. You don't have to test in every subject. If we say, okay, we're going to test in English and math, but I'm the phys ed teacher, it's in my interest to get some math in the phys ed class. So when I take the kids out on the field to throw the football, I'll have some other kids graphing. How far, how accurate, how far, and that's a little math lesson in there. You can do the same thing in the gym with basketball. When you drop it, how far, bounce it back the second time, can get some physics in there as well. Because my pay is going to depend on how well you do teaching math to your kids. So I'm going to help you. And I would do the whole staff, the secretaries, the janitors, have everybody invested in the success of the kids. And at the same time, you want that school to be an intentional community. So the principal and the veteran teachers have to be able to do the hiring without just paying attention to seniority. I mean, you have to make some real changes. But Michelle Rhee started that conversation. So in that sense, she deserves praise. There's other stuff, but in that sense, she deserves real praise. We
have just a couple minutes left. So if there were 2 or 3 things that you could do, I know you're not a policymaker, but if you could put through 2 policies right away to take it to a level where teachers are respected, where the profession is respected, and the changes within the schools are beginning to occur, as you discussed, what would they be?
First thing I do is I would have choice. I would have a variety of schools, and I would have choice by parents for their children and also by teachers, so that you can create these intentional communities where, so that'd be one thing. The second is I would just invest in project-based learning. Every school that's anywhere near a body of water, science classes should be going to that water, measuring the acidity, the alkalinity, the detritus, and so on, comparing data with all the other kids. That's real work. Kids will want to go to that school. So those would be 2 things: project-based learning and choice and variety.
Yeah, I kind of wish we had that. I've been to project-based schools, and that's phenomenal.
You want to
stuff.
go there, right?
Yes,
you want to be there. That's what you want. Schools where people want to be.
Yeah. Well, John, I'm sorry we're out of town. I'd love to talk more, but thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
My guest has been John Merrow. I'm Kathryn Baron, and this is Thoughts on Public Education.